It is so good to have all of you here, I think from about 25 different states, which is really incredible. I always tell people this is kind of like Field of Dreams, if you guys have seen that movie. I felt like if we build it, you'll come, and you did. And I hope that you really take advantage of this next 24 hours to network. I want to call this almost the speed dating of education freedom, because that's what this is. Take advantage of this time to meet. There's incredible people. I've met many of you over the past 3 years at different conferences and such. And so please take the opportunity to network this over the next 24 hours. Okay, well, this is the Reclaiming Education Conference. We had the first annual Reclaiming Education Conference in Massachusetts last April, and so we thought it went so well in Massachusetts, we thought we'd go national. So this is our first, hopefully, annual National Reclaiming Education Conference. But I want to tell you a little bit about what's going on in Massachusetts, and all of you are going to have an opportunity to talk for about 5 minutes over the next 24 hours about what you're doing in your state to move K-12 education forward. And when we say affordable, we're talking $100 to $200 a month. And you're going to hear from Elizabeth Lopez later today, who's running one of the most successful church-based learning centers in Massachusetts, how they have been able to develop their own education freedom ecosystem where they've been able to accomplish this task pre-K through 12th grade, 5 days a week. Basically a drop-off, but it's an expanded homeschool co-op for as low as $100 a month. So pretty amazing things going on in Massachusetts. So really, I want to start here. What are church-based learning centers? Basically, these are expansions of traditional homeschool co-ops. So we thought, well, a traditional homeschool co-op meets once a week, but wouldn't it be great if we could just meet 5 days a week, or 4 days a week, or 3 days a week? And that's exactly what we've been doing. We've navigated the state homeschool statute, which in Massachusetts, it might surprise you, that is very relatively friendly to homeschooling in Massachusetts. We have Lynn Swanson here from Yes Every Kid Foundation, who is an attorney that will help you navigate your homeschool statute in your state, because they're all a little different. So another wonderful person to get to know this over this next 24 hours. In Massachusetts, it needs to be parent-directed. So at the Grow Learning Center, even though it's a 5-day drop-off, parent-directed could mean that the homework is assessed by the parents at home. It could mean that the parents assess the test at home. So the parents aren't even with the children pretty much at all, except maybe special days where parents come in. But that is parent-directed for their church-based learning center. At the Westfield Learning Center in Massachusetts, parent-directed could mean grandma and grandpa come and help educate the child at the church. So it doesn't always mean that the actual parent, perhaps kin or extended family. Ministry of the church. Many of these, if not all of these, are ministries of the church, and we like to have them as ministries of the church because they have extra protections under First Amendment. Many of them, or all of them, are volunteer-based. That's part of the reason why you can do $200 a month at the Grow Learning Center. That's why at the Westfield Learning Center in Massachusetts, they do Monday, Wednesday, Friday for $500 per family per year. So is that affordable? Right? $500, we can have every kid in the public schools afford that. And then these are anywhere from 1 to 5 days a week. And like I said, when we talk about affordable, we're talking about $100 to $200 per month. So that is what church-based learning centers are. And then why church-based learning centers? Well, churches are unique because they have two things. They have available space that's not being used during the week, and they have this wonderful group of volunteers. And in our churches, we have a volunteer culture. You don't have to convince people to volunteer their time. And so when you mix the two and you take care of the human resource problem and you take care of the space problem, you can make K-12 affordable. Most pastors will say no to schools. I'm sure you've seen that. And so that's why we said, well, let's not ask them to start another Christian school. Let's ask them to start a learning center. So just trying to be a little more creative and strategic in how we go about this. And then First Amendment protections, like I said, ministry of the church. So that is why we have been pushing learning centers that are church-based as opposed to Christian schools. We're not opposed to Christian schools. We just know that Christian schools come with more liability, they come with higher budgets, and it's more likely that you're going to get a no from the church. What does growth look like? 30%, I saw this article recently from The Lion that said by 2030, folks, that's only 5 years, that 30% of America's students will be homeschooling. 30%. I think the number, if I'm not mistaken, is 5% right now. So what an incredible opportunity for the church to open its doors to homeschoolers. We now have a champion in the White House for homeschooling. Education freedom is more and more popular, and schools are not changing. The DEI programs that we're all aware of, the woke ideology, even though we have seen the miraculous introspection from the left after this election, I don't know if it's going to change our schools or not. That is yet to be seen. In Massachusetts, over the past 3 years, we now have 19 church-based learning centers and more in the pipeline. And then also we're putting together a sports strategy with the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. So you guys probably might have an FCA in your state, and we'll have our first spring sports event this year with FCA. It'll be a track and field event. And that'll be mostly for church-based learning centers and small Christian schools. Why does America need learning centers? The majority of students live under the poverty line. In the city of Worcester, the second largest city in Massachusetts, 70% of the students in the Worcester Public Schools live under the poverty line. I've been so impressed that at the Grow Learning Center, which is in Worcester, Massachusetts, if I'm not mistaken, I think 50 to 60% of the students that go to the Grow Learning Center live under the poverty line. So they're meeting that same population that the public schools are meeting. That's why we think $100 to $200 a month is affordable for everyone. Churches are aging out. I think you've probably seen this perhaps at the church you attend, where a lot of our young people have left the church. What a great way to get young people back in your church with K-12 ministry. Academic standards are suffering. Even in Massachusetts, it probably doesn't surprise you, there was a ballot question this past election to get rid of the MCAS, the testing for Massachusetts public schools, and that was successful. So there's no longer any testing that's being done in Massachusetts schools to prove that teachers are doing their jobs. And then I mentioned the woke ideology is not changing. Also on the subject of why America needs learning centers, you guys probably know this guy, Liam Morrison. He's the 12-year-old boy from Middleborough, Massachusetts that wore a shirt to school that said there are only 2 genders. And the kind of pushback he got, if you're following this, ADF and Massachusetts Family Institute are representing his First Amendment rights. He went so that when he wore this shirt to school, he said, all the kids love my shirt, they agreed with my shirt, but my principal sent me home. And that was on a Wednesday, and then he went back to school with a little different shirt. This one pictured here, there are censored genders, and he was sent home again. And so he is now hopefully going to have his case heard at the Supreme Court, and wouldn't it be great to have a victory for free speech coming out of Massachusetts, of all places? Well, on this question of why, I want to bring up our Director of Communications, Mary Ellen Siegler, and to talk about comprehensive sex education. This is the way that we are going to convince our churches especially. I mean, this is really the #1 obstacle to the growth of church-based learning centers, micro schools, whatever you want to call it. When they are church-based, the #1 obstacle is finding a champion at your local church. And it's also educating your church about the dangers of the woke ideology and other things in our public schools. So for the past 8 to 9 years, we have been pounding the pavement in Massachusetts. We have been speaking from behind the pulpit of over 200 different churches, showing pictures of the genderbread person on a Sunday morning from the pulpit. And to date, nobody has walked out of the service, okay? They actually are all very interested in what we have to say about the local education in their city or town. So the first thing we've done is educate the church and say, this is why you need an alternative. So Mary Ellen's going to come up and talk about that, and then I'll close it out.
Thank you, Michael. Well, I love what the Herzog Foundation does, and I'm so grateful, Daryl, that you've invited us to be here with you today. Christian education is a passion of mine. As we all know, all of you sitting in this room, you know that education is the formation of a heart and a mind. So it's not difficult to see what the issues are and to throw our hat in the ring and get involved in growing Christian education options. So, but as Michael mentioned, it can be difficult sometimes to convince people that this is what we need to do. And, you know, it takes work. We have to roll up our sleeves. We have to kind of get outside of our comfort zone. So what I did was I started Massachusetts Informed Parents. So Massachusetts Informed Parents just started out as a Facebook group. And what I did was we sent, myself and my research team, we sent a public records request to every school district in the district in Massachusetts. And we asked for their sex education curriculum. And then we poured through thousands of pages of sex education, and we wrote reports. And we just started posting what we were finding in the Massachusetts Informed Parents group. So, but before I tell you more about that, let's just kind of go through. So, you know that what's being taught in the school is a specific type of sex education called comprehensive sexuality education. So, this is the underlining philosophy to comprehensive sexuality education is that children are sexual from birth and that they have the right to sexual pleasure. So we all know how damaging and harmful that is to our young people. So it's not just, you know, when parents think about sex education in school, they are still thinking that it's just a biology class on human reproduction. But that is not what is happening. Now, we knew this because we were doing the research prior to 2020, but then once schools went online during the pandemic, now all of a sudden people were believing me and believing us about the things that we were posting in Massachusetts Informed Parents. So I started working with an organization, Protect Child Health Coalition, and they've put together some wonderful curricula assessments and evaluations, just showing all the 15 harmful elements of comprehensive sexuality education. And so Michael and I started traveling the state and holding parent information forums and just walking people through what was actually being taught. Most parents, I will tell you, were completely shocked and amazed at the evidence that we were presenting to them from that we had found through public records requests in the public schools. So you can see that this, you know, this really motivated people to come up with some solutions and to come up with some solutions fast. So that was one of the ways that we started generating interest with our pastor network and with parents all over the state to work together and innovate options in education. So this is just a little picture of the sex ed map. So we have, these are all districts that we have evaluated and written reports. This is a sample of one of the reports that we've written, and we include links to everything so that parents can see exactly what's happening in their town or city. And so you can go and you can click on your town or city, and then you can get a report. Now, we actually have content for many of those states that haven't been filled in yet, but it takes time to go through thousands and thousands of pages returned to us from public records requests. And of course, not all districts are cooperating. They try to evade our requests, and so we have to fight with them a little bit and use our attorney. But you can see that we actually came up with a color coding system before we did this project. And we distilled down the Protect Child Health Coalition 15 harmful elements to 5 harmful elements. We kind of consolidated the information so we wouldn't overwhelm people with too much data. And we decided that if your district only had one harmful element in the curriculum, you would be like a light pink color, and then we did gradations of colors after that. Now you can see, of all the districts we have evaluated so far in Massachusetts, they are all the brightest red, which means they have five of the criteria that we came up with, which is kind of a summary of the 15 harmful elements that the Protect Child Health Coalition put out. So when you show this visual to parents and to pastors, a picture really begins to form about that, and really sends home the message that we've got to get the kids out of the schools, protect their hearts and their minds. So we started also generating interest in our Church-Based Learning Center initiative through the Opt-Out of Pornographic Sex Ed initiative. So we had t-shirts printed and signs, and we enlisted, so through Massachusetts Informed Parents, we were connecting with parents all over the state. Then we would help them form a parent coalition where they lived, and then Michael and I would work with them to put together an opt-out movement. So then they would put signs in their lawn. They would educate parents on how to opt their children out, how to make use of the Massachusetts opt-out provision in the sex ed law. And so this has been wildly successful in a couple of ways. One, we're getting a lot of kids opted out of the pornographic sex education, but we're really using it as a tool to educate on the issues and the problems in education. In the city of Worcester, last year, I believe it was, almost 4,000 students opted out of comprehensive sexuality education. So that was a win. But more so, when parents learn about the opt-out movement, it really motivates them to be thinking even beyond the opt-out movement and thinking about how can they get their children out of the schools. So one of the things that we have used very successfully is a text line. So we have various keywords. You can text the keyword to 87891, and you will get links that, Michael, exactly what do you have at this link? I believe you have all the information for the opt-out movement, but then you also have information about the church-based learning centers and various different links. As you know, we're always adding and editing what's at this text number. So this has been a very effective way to get information out quickly, is using our text line. So when Michael speaks somewhere, when a parent calls me, I will just tell them, text 87891, and you will receive a text message with links that will provide you more information. So this is just a little illustration here of 74 cities and towns have started an opt-out movement. So in addition to our Sex Ed MAP project, Massachusetts Informed Parents Initiative, and also the Church-Based Learning Center movement and the text line, we also have been using all of these mechanisms to also fight back against the sex ed mandate, which is euphemistically called the Healthy Youth Act in Massachusetts, so we know that it's anything but. Fortunately, so we create this brief with all the information about the bill and what it will do. So when we do these parent information forums or we meet with pastors, this is a brief that we also share. And so it's just a way to distill down a lot of information into bite-sized pieces and to get it out there. So there's so much information that we could share with parents, but one thing that we've tried to do is to really distill it down very succinctly and in a way that's easy for people to understand and to get a picture of what is really happening around this issue. So this legislation here, and I'm happy to report that we have beat it back for, I believe, the 10th year in a row now. So it has not passed. So we will continue to fight that. But we also use, it will be introduced again, I'm sure, but we also use this as another piece to grow the Church-Based Learning Center initiative. Because it's only a matter of time before it probably does get passed if our makeup in our at the State House continues to be a trifecta effectively. Okay. So, and I'll just wrap up with this just to tell you a little bit more about Massachusetts Informed Parents. So as I told you, we started as a Facebook group, then we moved over to Twitter, now known as X, and then we started a Substack site because last year, Facebook kicked me off of Facebook because I posted about a drag queen story hour in a town and wanted to, let the parents know there that, hey, you should respectfully call the library, ask them to cancel this event, please. And I had put a picture of the drag queen on the post with the information parents could call, and Facebook kicked me off of Facebook because they accused me of adult sexual exploitation. So I didn't think, because I posted a picture of the drag queen, which was posted publicly on his own Facebook page and had the share button, which could be shared, freely. So thankfully, so at that time I said, okay, great, now what are we going to do? We have this large following on Massachusetts Informed Parents, so I had an admin take over that group, and I said, I'm going to start a Substack. So we just started reproducing all of the research that we had done and redoing it and putting it on the Substack. And so my research team, I have a wonderful researcher. She does all of these investigative reports now, kind of like what the Lion is doing, very much like what the Lion is doing. And we post all of these investigative reports when we get things back from the school district. And so this has just been another mechanism that we've used to get the information out there and to inspire the starting of more church-based learning centers, which is what the goal is to rescue the kids, get them out, create affordable and viable alternatives so that we can protect the hearts and the minds of the next generation.
Thank you. So again, just to reiterate that it is so incredibly important that we convince our churches that there's a problem, and convince our parents that there's a problem. That is the number one obstacle to starting church-based learning centers, is convincing people there's a problem. And we have found that the best way to convince people is to get behind that pulpit on a Sunday morning and show exactly, would you guys like to see that as a sermon on a Sunday morning, right? Okay, so for the past 8 or 9 years, we've been doing exactly this, okay, with 200 different churches. So in Massachusetts, if you can do this at a Massachusetts church, do you think you can do it at your church in your state? I would say yes. So that's why we wanted to start there and say the why, and then this is what has been produced. 19 church-based learning centers serving 600 students across the state. And we've created our own education freedom ecosystem in Massachusetts that is parent-directed, that is non-government funded, and is funded by private organizations and people. So we have scholarships and training available, K-12 education for as low as $100 a month. How did we do that? Well, the Herzog Foundation has been an incredible ally to train up the next generation of proctors and tutors. We don't call them teachers because they're not schools. We call them proctors and tutors. 32 different organizations from Massachusetts have participated in Herzog training events. 5 groups in Massachusetts have completed the school box, with 2 more in the pipeline. The Rochester Learning Center down in Rochester, Massachusetts, completed the school box, and now Herzog has offered to, for free, do their website for them as well. So now they've figured out how to do a church-based learning center, which actually MFI helped them produce, and now they're helping with the website. And they just opened their church-based learning center with 27 kids this year. Also, you have the VILA grant. 3 of our programs have received these grants totaling $22,500. Some of that money has actually gone into matching gifts for the non-government funded matching gift scholarship program from the Children's Scholarship Fund. This is one of the largest SGOs in America, scholarship granting organization. We are pleased that Amy Popodik has joined us this week from the Children's Scholarship Fund. I met Darla Ramfo, the president of the Children's Scholarship Fund, at the SPN conference in Chicago 2 summers ago, and I said, Darla, we are creating affordable education through the church, and Darla's a born-again believer. She's been doing education freedom for 26, 27 years with CSF, and right away she said, that's exactly what we need to be doing. And so now we've launched a first-of-its-kind matching gift, $75,000 matching gift pilot program with CSF, and you can see there approximately 50 students from 30 families are receiving up to $1,000 in matching scholarship funds to attend a learning center in Massachusetts. So why can the Grow Learning Center in Worcester, Massachusetts do K-12 5 days a week for $100 a month? Because they have the training from Herzog, and they have a great volunteer base, and now they have a non-government funded $1,000 matching gift fund from CSF. And then the future of reclaiming education in Massachusetts, I didn't clear this by Amy, but I'm saying this by faith, is that we'll have a goal of a $1 million scholarship fund in partnership with CSF in the future, because we love it so much. And then also partnering with the Christian Fellowship, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes for our sports program, and then also the National Hybrid Schools Conference that we're working with to do survey work and better understand how to make our church-based learning centers even better. A successful and sustainable model with a record of success. So this was a study we had done after 3 years of the Westfield Learning Center. I mentioned them earlier. We want to do a little study. So 3 years of data verifying this claim. 43 students in their 3rd year, an 88.9% retention rate of those students. 47.6% of the student body were able to leave the public schools because of this option. This is the church-based learning center that's $500 per family per year. They actually had to up their tuition from $400 per family per year. Church was able to triple their capacity to minister to children and the families on a regular basis. So this is why I say many of our churches are aging out. What better way to invigorate your church with young people than a K-12 ministry? There were 20 children at the church. New Life is the name of the church. Only one church family participates in the church-based learning center, and the church-based learning center added 40 students to their ministry. So they saw an incredible growth in ministering to young people, and multiple best practices were observed. If you want to get the full study on this church-based learning center, you can get this QR code. If you scan it, you can scan the QR code for the case study summary of the Westfield Learning Center. And if you didn't have a chance to do that, want to do that later, you can see me afterwards. And then also the Reclaiming Education Conference we did last April, if you scan this QR code, you can get the resources we gave to, we had 150 people from 70 different towns and cities registered for this event. Daryl Jones came out, Darla Ramfo came out last April, and we basically said this is how you start a church-based learning center. Our goal was to get 10 more church-based learning centers in the pipeline. We had an altar call at the end of the conference, and guess how many people came up to start a learning center? 10. So we reached our goal of 10 more interested churches. And then also, if you'd like to get information on the church-based learning centers in Massachusetts, the different school options that people have, just as an idea of what's going on in Massachusetts, you can text the word Herzog to our short code 87891. And you'll get the same information that someone in Massachusetts, when they text the word school option to the same short code they get, to understand where are these church-based learning centers. We also list the homeschool co-op. So it's not just the church-based learning centers, it's homeschool co-ops. It's every alternative that we're aware of Christian schools. So we've really become the hub in Massachusetts for people to understand, if I want to go anywhere besides the public school, I'm going to look to MFI to know where to go. So feel free to text that. And then lastly here, I mentioned the Grow Learning Center, probably the best run church-based learning center in Massachusetts. We are so privileged to have Elizabeth Lopez here, who's now been running this for 3 years. She's going to come and tell you what they've been doing, but I wanted to give you a little picture of what they're doing. So this is the Grow Learning Center in the second largest city in all of New England, Worcester, Massachusetts. This is where the opt-out movement started, where last year we had 4,000 students opt out of sex ed. That is almost 20% of the school body. In one third grade class, 50% of the class got up and left during sex ed. Imagine if half of you walked out that door right now because we were starting sex ed class. Would that have an impact on the other half that's staying, right? So when you get to that tipping point of whatever the percentage, 50%, you're certainly there. It's been wonderful to see that, and we saw 1,000 kids in 1 year leave the Worcester Public Schools altogether. And that is why now we're seeing the growth of church-based learning centers. And so, and then here's a nice, look, this is, they're in uniforms, guys, for a church-based learning center that meets 5 days a week as an expanded version of a homeschool co-op. So just a wonderful pre-K through 12th grade. Here's just a few details about it. Launched in September 2022. They now have 84 students in their first year. They had 3 students. Last year they had 59 students. This year they have 84 students with 40 on the waiting list. So they are growing, pun intended, of the Grow Learning Center. So Elizabeth Lopez, please welcome Elizabeth to come up and talk about the Church-Based Learning Center.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. We are very excited to be here today. And just as we get set up, as he mentioned, my name is Elizabeth Lopez. I am from the Grow Christian Learning Center located in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm part of New Life Worship Center, have been there for 30 years. I arrived to New Life Worship Center when I was the age of 3, when I came when I went to Massachusetts from Puerto Rico with my family, and I've been there ever since. So it's been a privilege to be a child in my local church, a youth in my local church, and now an adult in my local church, and now working in ministry is a great privilege. One of the children that Michael showed in that picture actually was with us last year, and the family decided that they no longer wanted to be part of the Grow Christian Learning Center. Mom works at the public school, said it's going to be a little bit more convenient. She had a great kindergarten, but she's going to go to first grade with me. 2 months in, Mom calls me and says, I need to send her back. Do you have space at Grow? It doesn't matter. I don't care about the convenience. I want her to go back. She cries every day. She's struggling every day. She goes on your Facebook page every day saying, I want to go back. So that's just saying we are making a difference. You know, sometimes we think, well, what's going to be most convenient? Is this going to be affordable? Is this something that's going to make sense for my family? And honestly, an environment is going to create such a difference in the child's life, and it's going to be worth it. And we've been able to experience that in our program. I just want to introduce to you a few folks. Just because Grow Christian Learning Center is not just one person, and every program that you develop is not only going to be one person. It's going to be a group of individuals who are connected to the vision, who understand that that needs to be purpose-driven, that it's not just a paycheck, it's not just a job. You really have to be called, and you have to be committed to it. So as Michael King was able to mention, a Christian Learning Center has to be a calling. It has to be a ministry of the church. It can't just be something that is on the sidelines and then we just opt into it whenever it's convenient. So our pastors, William and Elise Almeida, have really been able to adopt this vision. They understood it was part of their assignment and ministry, and because of that, we have seen such a support from the whole congregation. Every single person that is part of New Life Worship Center has opted into this vision. They have sent their children there. They give generous donations, and they have been participating in this ministry. We have our early childhood team. As Michael King mentioned, we have from preschool all the way through 12th grade. So the way that we have been able to establish that is making sure that we have groups that are focusing in the areas of development that are required. Many different learning centers are going to function differently. You may have great volunteers who are interested, who are passionate for children's ministry, who want to be there, and that is wonderful. Our idea at our Christian Learning Center, we wanted to make sure that we were building a team so that we can build for the masses. So Our coaches, they do have training. They do have a background in education. In the middle, Rosa Quintana, she has been in the public school. She was in a public school for over 30 years. She retired, and she says, I want to go back, but I want to go back different. So she joined our team, and now she's a Christian educator. And you'll see one of the testimonies from one of her students from last year who was in preschool. She was able to identify his eagerness for learning. She was able to identify what his skills were, and she challenged him. He went straight from preschool 2 days a week to 5 days first grade classroom, and he is doing excellent in his classroom. So this is our elementary school group. Again, educated individuals who are there just day in and day out. We have our upper level, which is our middle school and our high school, and we have our language coach who is there to train our students, teaching them Spanish, because high school students in Massachusetts are required to take 2 years of a language. So we have someone who is volunteering her time, full time, to be able to offer this training to the students in the classroom. And then we have our support team. We have volunteers, classroom assistants, our receptionist, who is also like, after we had the campus security training with Herzog, I was like, I need someone at the front desk. And Lyurma was like, I'm available full time. I can be there. And she has been there to provide just taking care of the door, signing everyone in, whoever comes into the building, going to the parking lot, observing who's on campus, who's coming into the parking lot. So they are assets. So as you're working to develop your ministry, as you're working to develop your church-based learning center, consider what are the areas that need to be filled and who are the individuals that are going to be part of that, because you're not going to be able to do it alone. You're going to need people that you can lean on and people who are going to be able to lean on you, because there's going to be moments that you're going to be really strong and ready to move forward, and there's going to be other moments that you need to be surrounded by individuals who understand the vision, who understand the assignment, and are going to remind you to be focused. So why did we start a church-based learning center, and how has the church partnered? As I mentioned, our pastors understood that this was part of the assignment of New Life Worship Center, and they were able to move forward with that. We had an opportunity to meet Michael King and the MFI. We went to some of the school committee meetings. We were able to voice our opinions as Christians, as part of a local church in Worcester. And based on that, we were able to make the right connections with Dr. Adam Rondeau. He was able to show us what Viewpoint Christian Academy looked like at that point. And we took about 1.5 years to just prepare, develop our policies, what it looked like for us, what we wanted our learning center to look like. And so, how did the church partner with us? Well, it's a ministry of the church. So we started in September 2022. With 6 students. That was the first day of school. We were super excited. And then we have a little one who was the child of a volunteer, but he came in his little uniform too. So he was 2 years old. That was him saying 2. And we started that year, and we actually ended that year with 3 of our students, because some of those students didn't live in the local area, and then they were able to find a learning center that was closer to their home. But as I mentioned, we took about 1.5 years or so. We educated ourselves, we created our policies, we established a budget, and we promoted the program. One of our biggest challenges, however, was allowing the community to trust that we were going to do a good job. We were brand new. They didn't necessarily know us. A lot of our families had students in the public school system, so to say, I'm going to take them out of public school to now homeschool, but now put them in a church-based learning center with individuals that perhaps may or may not know. During that time, I was that person. It was only me. I was the teacher, the administrator. I was the one doing all these things. So it took them some time to see, is this really going to pick up? Is this really going to move forward? Are they going to be able to do what they say they're going to do? So after some time, the community believed in us. And they tapped into believing. These are pictures from our Color Wars. The majority of them are from our Color Wars, our Classroom Spirit Day. They do challenges all day. So we started first year 6 students, ended 3 students. Currently, we have 87 students preschool through 12th grade. Approximately, we have 60 students in the elementary school and 27 in middle and high school. It's about 50-50 approximately from public schools and those who are coming from homeschool, just being at home and just being able to now be in our program. We serve 14 cities and towns in Massachusetts, 2 cities in Rhode Island, and 1 city from Connecticut. So currently we're serving 3 different states in our Christian Learning Center. And then I do have some short testimonies from the families, because I think listening from them would be more beneficial than just hearing it from me. I wanted to take this moment to thank everybody at Grow Christian. Pause. Let's change the audio. Do you know which audio I should choose? There you go. Thank you.
Links out of the pop. I would let us use free classroom.
Not sure what's going on, but that's Tanya Tovar. She is a mom who has a child in preschool who was able to move forward to first grade, and she was just expressing her gratitude and just saying how her son was so eager to go. He was only there 2 days a week, and he was so eager to be there. He had no previous experience, not in a daycare. He had never gone to preschool before. He didn't even join children's church on Sunday. He was always with mom. So we were always worried, like, how is he going to transition? And the fact that he was able to get into that classroom, enjoy the time that was there, he would do his homework every time, because Miss Quintana, she gave those preschoolers homework every day. So to be able to see that was also very exciting. Let's see. Okay. I'm not sure these videos are going to work, but this is, his name is Joseph Peña. He's in a middle school classroom. And in his testimony, he's saying that it's so different to be in the learning center from what it was to be in the public school, that he was so used to any time someone would do something wrong, the teachers would always be yelling at them. And he said, it's so different here, because when you make a mistake, they actually care enough about you to talk to you, to sit down with you. He said, one of my biggest struggles was math. I always stressed out in math. I didn't know how to do it well. And the coach sat with me and guided me through that. And because of that, I was able to finish 7th grade with high honors. So he was so proud of that. And lastly, it's a mom, her name is Adela. She was able to share that with her daughter, when we did her assessment, she was finishing 1st grade, and I was able to, based on her assessment, I said, we're able to challenge her. She's able to do so much more than what is expected of her. So we bumped her up a grade. We started her in the 3rd grade, and she was doing incredible, to the point that she was getting higher scores than her peers in her own classroom who were older than her, who had the grade that she had skipped. So we were able to identify that, but their family was also going through a lot of transitions. So there were a lot of moments where this young girl would come to my office and just sit down, and we would have conversation, and we would just lay our feelings before God and being able to pray about it. And then she would be able to go back to class with a little note that she had to give mom at the end of the day. And Adela was just able to share how she was so blessed to know that her daughter was going to a place, not only where she was able to be challenged academically, but where she was able to be joined together by believers, with individuals who are going to pray for her, see her for who she was, and be able to guide her in a spiritual atmosphere. So here is some information regarding our payment schedule, and it has a little breakdown of what it looks like monthly and weekly. So for our K through 12, we have a base rate, and then if you have a sibling, then you have discounts, 10%, 20%. And then also families have the option to choose between a 3, 4, and 5 day a week schedule. And we also have families who have like elementary students who go 5 days a week and their high schoolers only go 3 days a week. And then our preschool schedule here as well for our payment. And it's just available to you so that you can take a look at it. Just please note that the church, as I mentioned, has really tapped into this mission and this assignment. So they do collaborate financially, and they take on financial responsibility in the areas where tuition does not cover. Possibilities or the future for Grow Christian Learning Center currently. Our property is 60,000 square feet, and we're currently using between 15 to 20,000 square feet. So part of our capital campaign right now is to be able to expand and to be able to build in those areas so that we can have more classroom space, more indoor play area for our children, so that we can have more elementary school students and be able to build greater classrooms for our upper level classmen. Right now, we collaborate with other ministries, not necessarily in allowing them or guiding them in doing their learning centers, but I have been able to join together with a few ministries and just teaching them what I know. I may not be an expert, but I share what I know. And having opportunities like these where I can get to meet so many great individuals who have visions, ideas, and assignments on behalf of the Lord, and they want to be able to move forward with that. So just sitting down and having conversation and being able to join ideas together is a really great opportunity that we've had to be able to collaborate with different ministries. And one of the questions that was asked is, are we considering becoming a traditional school, or are we going to keep ourselves as a learning center? And our idea is that right now we're going to stay as a learning center. We've seen the benefits that we have when it comes to the freedom that we have as being part of ministry of the church. We have an opportunity to minister to these kids day in and day out, not only with the words that we use, but with the actions that they see. They are able to walk by the office and see us in a circle and just praying and being bold for our faith. And our high schoolers are right now preparing for their missionary trip. They're going to go to the Dominican Republic in June. So they're so excited about that. And we want to be able to have that type of environment in our program. And we've had so many freedoms and so many opportunities that we're not thinking of becoming a traditional school. Additional to that, like Michael King said, Massachusetts has had an opportunity to join together with other, in partnership with other individuals. So one of them has been the Children's Scholarship Fund, who has this year partially provided partial scholarships for 7 of our students in the matching gift grants. And also I have personally participated in 5 of the Herzog trainings so far. So it's been a benefit. It's every time I go back with so much information, so many useful things. And the team back home, they're excited. They want to go to the Washington, D.C. Bible Museum. They want to go to Noah's Ark. They want to be able to get to those. So we're planning on getting them to those trainings as well. But they have taken some of the online trainings so far. So if you have a team that you're developing, sometimes we don't have all the tools, all the resources, or all the time to be able to prepare. They're already prepared. Just tap into them, and it's going to be a great benefit to you. If anybody has any questions for me personally, wants to have conversation with me, and we don't have an opportunity to do that in these next 24 hours, you are welcome to contact me, whether email, phone. I would be happy to have a conversation with you. And thank you all so much for your time, and I hope this is a great benefit for you and your schools.
Now you can see why we were privileged to have Elizabeth come this week, because they're doing an amazing job. I hope you guys were encouraged by what the church can do. This is the largest Hispanic church in the 2nd largest city in all of New England that's doing this. So